Let me ask you something. What happens when mom wants to remain at home, but the cost of care is becoming difficult to manage? Maybe she needs help with meals. Maybe she needs help with bathing. Maybe she needs someone there for a few hours a day. Or maybe care needs have increased to the point where a caregiver is needed every day. And as care needs increase, the costs often increase too. That's when many families start asking a question they never expected to ask. Can a reverse mortgage help pay for home care? The answer is sometimes yes, but like most things in senior transition planning, the answer isn't as simple as yes or no. Today, we're going to talk about when a reverse mortgage might help support aging in place, when it may not make sense, and why the first question shouldn't be about the reverse mortgage at all. Hi, I'm Dale Corpus, a senior transition strategist, senior focused realtor, and reverse mortgage specialist based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I help families navigate senior care decisions when a home is involved, guiding them through housing, real estate, caregiving, and home equity options so they can make informed decisions during some of life's most challenging transitions. This is another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we bring clarity to decisions that are too often made under pressure. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we help families navigate senior living, real estate, and everything in between. Hosted by Senior Transition Specialist Dale Corpus, this show brings you expert insights, real solutions, and stress-free strategies to make senior transitions simple. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that a reverse mortgage is something people only consider when they're out of money. That's simply not true. In reality, many families evaluate home equity because they are trying to create options. And one of those options may be helping a parent remain at home longer. Now, before we talk about reverse mortgages, let's talk about the real goal. Because the first question isn't, should we get a reverse mortgage? The first question is, what are we trying to accomplish? And are we trying to help mom remain at home? Are we trying to avoid a move to assisted living? Are we trying to reduce stress on family caregivers? Are we trying to create additional cash flow to support care needs? Because once the goal becomes clear, the solutions become easier to evaluate. One family may decide assisted living makes the most sense. Another family may decide memory care is the safest option, and another family may decide that remaining at home is the best choice. Every situation is different. That's why there is rarely one size fits all solution. For a reverse mortgage, it's the right product for the right person at the right time. So where does a reverse mortgage fit? For homeowners who meet the qualifications, a reverse mortgage may allow them to access a portion of their home's equity while continuing to live in the home. That equity can potentially be used for different purposes, including helping pay for home care, home modifications, medical expenses, or simply improving monthly cash flow or eliminating the mortgage payment altogether. And for some families, that additional flexibility can be extremely valuable, especially when the goal is aging in place. I've seen situations where a family believed they only had two options: move to assisted living or somehow figure out how to pay for care out of pocket. Then they learned there was a third option worth evaluating: using home equity strategically. Now, I want to be very careful here. A reverse mortgage is not the right solution for everyone. In fact, there are situations where I wouldn't recommend pursuing one at all. If someone plans to move in the near future, for example, it may not make sense. If other financial resources are more appropriate, it may not make sense. If the family's goals point toward a different strategy, it may not make sense. That's why I always encourage families to evaluate the entire picture first: care needs, housing needs, financial resources, family dynamics, and long-term plans. Then determine what tools fit the situation, not the other way around. Another misconception I hear is that the bank takes the house. That's one of the most common myths surrounding reverse mortgages. The reality is that homeowners still own their home, and families should always seek professional guidance to understand how these programs work and whether they're appropriate for their specific situation. The larger point isn't really about reverse mortgages. The larger point is about understanding all available options, because when families don't know their options, they often feel trapped. They feel like they have to choose between bad choices. But when families understand their options, they can make decisions with greater confidence and clarity. And that's what senior transition planning is really about, helping families understand the paths available to them. And one thing I've learned over the years is that many families wait until a crisis before discussing these topics. A fall, a hospitalization, a death of a spouse, a dementia diagnosis, a caregiver burning out, and suddenly everyone feels rushed. And the families who tend to have the most flexibility are often families who started the conversation earlier, before the crisis, before the urgency, before the pressure, because planning creates options and options create better decisions. So today we talked about whether a reverse mortgage can help pay for home care. And the answer is that for some families, it can be one option worth evaluating, but the real lesson is bigger than that. The first question isn't, should we get a reverse mortgage? The first question is, what are we trying to accomplish? Because once the goal becomes clear, the right solutions often become easier to identify. This has been another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. If you're navigating a senior transition right now and trying to determine the best path for an aging parent, visit simplifyseniortransitions.com. You'll find resources designed to help families navigate senior care decisions, housing transition, and funding options when a home is involved. And if this episode brought you clarity, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Reviews help more families find this information before a stressful situation becomes a crisis. I'm Dale Corpus, and I'll see you on the next episode.